Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel we post writing tips, unboxings, book hauls, book reviews and the occasional vlog. And today we are journeying once again to Terry Pratchett's Discworld and we are reviewing Feet of Clay by Terry Pratchett. If you're new here, don't forget if you like what you see to subscribe to this channel. You'll continue to support me a lot, so thank you guys so much. If you're not new to my channel, you'll know I'm trying to read the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett in order, with the goal to get to Hogfather by Christmas 2023. And I'm happy to say that Feet of Clay is the book before the Hogfather, so I think I've made it. I didn't think I would. I have had to read 3 Pratchett books on the trot to get to the stage, but we've done it. And I'm also happy, as I've been going, the Discworld series have been getting better and better, and the last one I reviewed, Masquerade, was just mwah. And this one, I enjoyed it immensely. As always with my book reviews, I'll read you guys the blurb first. The 19th Discworld novel. Sorry, said Carrot, if it's just a thing, how can it commit murder? A sword is a thing. He drew his own sword. It made an almost silken sound. And of course you can't blame a sword if someone thrust it at you, sir. For Commander Vimes, head of Ankh-Morpork City Watch, life consists of troubling times linked together by, well, more troubling times. Right now it's the latter. There's a werewolf with pre-lunar tension in the city, a dwarf with attitude, and a golem who's begun to think for itself, but that's just ordinary trouble. The real problem is more puzzling. People are being murdered, but there's no trace of anything alive having been at the crime scene. So Vimes not only has to find out who done it, but how done it too. He's not even sure what they done, but as soon as he knows what the questions are, he's going to want some answers. There's a review on the back from The Observer, fantastical, inventive, and finally serious. It's enjoyable as crime fiction, but the real attraction is the laughter waiting to be uncovered on each page. It's what it says on the back. This is a murder mystery. We are going back to The Watch, which is one of the most recommended series in the Discworld series. That's a lot of series in there. So in the Discworld, you have returning characters, and those characters have books in their own series, which are also part of the overall Discworld series. And The Watch is one of those series that gets recommended the most. I think that made sense. I hope that made sense. Anyways, this is Feet of Clay, and this introduces the golems, which is who is on the front. Now, a golem is technically not a person, and it is a man-made object. So they're not alive. It's dodgy ground, I must say. And all I can say is that quote on the back from Carrot. But as always with my book reviews, I will do a spoiler-free zone at the start, and then I will say spoiler alert for when you may expect spoilers and give you a time to skip to if you don't want to hear any spoilers, or if you haven't read this book and just want to hear the overall review at the end. Something I immediately loved in this book, and it happened so early on, and it's not a spoiler. In Masquerade, we had secret undercover police in the opera house, and they instantly come back in Feet of Clay. So yet again, Pratchett is now linking the books, and he's not just linking the books by the Watch linking together, he's linked this to a book of the witches. It makes it so enjoyable. And I would agree with The Observer on the back, it has a very serious murder mystery plotline, but with Pratchett humour in it. Our first quote is on page 27. Mr. Hopkinson, the curator, was somewhat excited. Apart from other considerations, he'd just been murdered. But at the moment, he was choosing to consider this as an annoying background detail. I love it. The characterization in that sentence alone, guys. Page 63. Most of them were a classic cowpat-like shape, an echo of their taste. But there were also buns, close combat crumpets, deadly throw-in toast, and a huge dusty array of other shapes devised by a race that went in for food fighting in a big and above all terminal way. This is because Mr. Hopkinson owns the Dwarf Museum of dwarf bread. But dwarf bread is used as a weapon. It's not generally edible. And just, again, it shows an entire dwarf race of characteristic, or I guess tradition, in one go. Great. Page 69. Detritus, despite a room temperature IQ, made a good copper and a damn good sergeant. I just love this hint. So again, As I said, Pratchett is now linking the stories. This links back to a previous Watch book, and it's about how Detritus, who is a troll, they found out that if they are in cold temperatures, their IQ rises. So this is a compliment that even at room temperature IQ level, it's just great. I really enjoyed it, guys. Page 83. Is there any trouble? He said. The crowd backed away. Not at all, officer, said Mr. Ridcully. You just loomed suddenly, that's all. This is correct, said Detritus. I am a loomer. It often happens suddenly, so there's no trouble then. No trouble whatsoever, officer. Amazing thing, trouble, rumbled Detritus thoughtfully. Always I looking for trouble, and when I find it, people said it ain't there. He's a troll. He's huge and foreboding and can just smush you in one go. I just love it. It just tells you all of Detritus's history as a watch officer or sergeant in one go again. Great showing. Page 100. Vimes calmed down a little. And who drew the straw to play stone-faced Vimes? Nobby. Nobby hung his head. No one, sir. No one wanted to play him, sir. The little corporal swallowed and then plunged onwards with the air of a man determined to get it all over with. So we're making a man out of straw, sir, so he'll burn nicely when we throw him on the bonfire in the evening. There's going to be fireworks, sir, he added with dreadful certainty. So Vimes's ancestor, as you'll know if you've read the Discworld, killed the king. And for some reason, although the king was a bad person and hurt people and all the things, people don't thank Vimes's relative. And for some reason, they admire the king. Nobby is in a reenactment group. And he's doing a reenactment of Vimes in this part, Vimes' ancestor, but he's playing the king, and no one wanted to play Stoneface, which is Vimes' ancestor. I mean, it's history all over the place, isn't it? On page 117. It clay, said Igneous, relaxing a little. I see clay all the time. It don't have no serial number. Clay's clay. Got lumps of it out the back. Right now, that is definitely a Monty Python quote. You'll know if you've seen my reviews on Terry Pratchett Discworld series before that I have a thing where Pratchett is either a super big fan of Blackadder or Blackadder writers were a fan of Pratchett. Monty Python is in there too. That is a quote from Monty Python Life of Brian with the two prison guards, and they act really silly when people ask them serious questions, and he just turns around and goes, "We got some round the back." And that's it. And I just love seeing it in here because I get that reference, but I don't know who's referencing who. What came first? Like the chicken or the egg here? I'm going to say spoiler alert here. I only actually have one more quote, but it is quite a bit further through the book. So spoiler alert, if you don't want any spoilers and want to see my overall review of this book, skip to this time here. If you do want to stay tuned, then stay here, but spoiler alert. Page 261. When Vimes had gone, Lord Vetinari ate the pizza, or at least those parts of it he thought he could recognise. Then he put the tray aside and blew out the candle by his bed. He sat in the dark for a while, then felt under his pillow until his finger located a small sharp knife and a box of matches. Thank goodness for Vimes. There was something endearing about his desperate burning and above all misplaced competence. If the poor man took any longer, he'd have to start giving him hints. In this book, so we've had 2 murders, but the most important thing is Lord Vetinari has been poisoned. And Vimes is trying to find out how and who has done this, and he is really struggling to find it. I mean, they've moved his room, they've replaced all the furniture, they now have a dwarf in the food tray bit, they've got food testers, everything, and they can't work it out. And I just love how in true Vetinari style, Vetinari knows who's poisoning them. They already know, and they already know what's poisoning them, but they're just controlling the amount of poison they're taking in because they don't want to, take that away from Vimes. They're going to let Vimes work it out because that's his job. And Vetinari. And welcome back if you're here from the spoiler-free section. We're now going to do my overall review of Feet of Clay by Terry Pratchett. So first of all, I love Dorfel. Oh my god, I am on Team Dorfel. I even said to Matt when I was reading, if anything happens to Dorfel, I'm going to kick off. Dorfel is a golem, and I love them so much. It has a great moral story in here, summed up by the quote on the back, which I read at the start by Carrot, with the "Sorry," said Carrot, "if it's just a thing, how can it commit murder? A sword is a thing." He drew his own sword. It made an almost silken sound. And of course, you can't blame a sword if someone thrust it at you, sir. It's the moral of treating people like people. It goes against slavery. We have finally women's rights being involved in here, of more women being in the workforce, of stereotypes being broken down, of expectations being broken down. He's still funny, he's still Pratchett, but he's getting madder and he's making it so much more obvious what he's fighting against in these books. I also like a lot of characters have really good character arcs in here. So Cherry has a fantastic arc, Dorfel does, Colon does. We also have characters who stay the same overall, mainly like Vimes, Agua, Detritus, Carrot, and Nobby. They still remain the same characters we know and love, but the other characters definitely develop, which is great because that is part of the acceptance of the world, is how these characters develop. I would give this book 10 out of 10 stars. I loved it. It was a really good. I can see why people do recommend The Watch. But Masquerade was a 10 out of 10 for me too. I would also always recommend The Witches. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you'd like to see as soon as I upload, click that little bell down below. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Tumblr. I post bookish pictures as well as my writing tips and unboxings on there. And thanks for watching, guys. Bye!